Your Honor, please. Pag na-require niyo po ang isang ahensya ng gobyerno na may confidential fund na mag-submit ng resibo, ay hindi na ho confidential fund yun.
How often po nagko-conduct ang ombudsman ng mga lifestyle check po? So have you conducted lately ng mga lifestyle check po sa ating mga official and government employees po?
With all due respect, Your Honor, mayroon lang po sana akong gustong itanong eh. Mayroon po bang batas na nag-require na mag-conduct ng lifestyle check?
Naku naman! Franz Castro, naging katawa-tawa sa naging tanong nito na para talaga itong mangmang na walang alam sa batas. Pero bago ang lahat, maaari kayong mag-subscribe para maging updated sa mga issue at bagong mga balita. Ito na nga't nilampaso ni Ombudsman Samuel Martires si Franz Castro matapos itong gisahin sana patungkol sa confidential funds. Ayon pa nga kay Castro, kung hindi umano mag-submit ng resibo ang ombudsman ay magla-lifestyle check sila. Sinagot naman ito ni Martires na wala umanong batas na nagsasagawa ng lifestyle check. Narito ang buong detalye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, dun sa explanation po ng ating Honorable Ombudsman. So, napapansin lang po natin, no, dahil tama po yung sinabi nyo kanina at inamin nyo na napakabagal po noong investigation, nung lahat ng mga, yung ilang mga kaso. At kanina nga po yung ating pong colleagues earlier, sinabi niya po yung yung percentage ng mga natatapos na kaso. So, kung meron pong ganitong confidential fund ay bakit po na natitipid? So, hindi po ba dapat ay gamitin ito kung talagang gamit? Kasi hindi naman to pwedeng gamitin sa iba eh. So, itong sinasabi natin. Kasi kung nagsisave po tayo, kinako-compromise natin yung halimbawa yung mga programs kasi itong confidential fund, you have to submit yung programs, activities, and project na related sa confidential. So, I hope, di ba, na ano nyo po ito, na-utilize nyo, considering na marami tayong iniimbestigahan ng mga kaso. So, ito po bang mga confidential, can you give us the general stroke, no, or not specific, kung saan nyo itong ginagamit itong confidential fund para po sa information po ng ating taong bayan. So may mga resibo po ba na sinasubmit sa COA at gaano ka-regular ito na ibinibigay for audit? Mr. Chair.
Your Honor, please. Pag na-require nyo po ang isang ahensya ng gobyerno na may confidential fund na mag-submit ng resibo, ay hindi na ho confidential fund yun. Kasi just like
Mr. Chair, gusto ko lang pong gusto ko lang pong doon. Kasi nire-require po 'yon ng joint circular. So hindi po pwedeng kasi meron po tayong joint circular 2015 regarding sa confidential fund. Po hindi po nakakatawa na sabihin natin na hindi tayo nagsasubmit ng mga resibo. So I beg to disagree po, no. Kailangan din natin mag-follow po doon sa JC 2015.
Pagpaunmanhin po ninyo, pero mula po na ako'y maging ombudsman, wala po nagsabi sa akin na mag-submit po kami ng resibo dahil paano ko po re-resibuhan ang isang intelligence officer na sinuyo ko tingnan ang isang bagay o isang kaso. Ano ho yung resibo ilalagay ko doon? Paano ho ililiquidate sa akin ng intel officer? If I get a safe house, magtataka pa ho kayo, ba't ako kumuha ng safe house? Baka naman yung safe house na yun ay hindi totoong safe house, kundi motel. I mean, I really don't know, but if that is the case, na pag-uusapan po natin, pag-aawayan natin ng confidential fund, then, alisin ho nyo sa budget namin yung confidential fund. As I said, we can survive. I can continue investigation cases. We just smile at my friends at the ISAF and some other investigation agencies. Madali lang po yun eh. I call my friends in the provinces, I call some police officers in the provinces, I ask them for their support. Kung kailangan mag-utos sila ng tao para i-verify kung totoo ito, din doon po kami gumagastos ng transportation expense ng pagkain ng tao. So paano ililiquidate po sa amin yon? Paano kami mag-submit ng resibo? Napakahirap po yata noon na mag-submit kami ng resibo. At siguro wala namang papayag din sa amin na intel officer na pag binigyan ko ng 50,000 pesos o i-liquidate mo sa akin, na tuwing sakay niya ng taxi, kung siya ay may, which I did it before, na pinamanmanan ako isang empleyado ng ombudsman, pinasundan ko, abay, siguro mahihirapan yung intel officer na every now and then, bibigay sa akin yung mga resibo ng gasolina. At pag niliquidate ko yung resibo ng gasolina na yon as my own expense, baka sabihin ng COA, hindi pwede kasi hindi ka pwede mag-claim ng gasoline expense because you have your transportation allowance. So I don't think a receipt is important. What is needed is that we make a certification, we issue a certification to the effect that we have spent the confidential fund for purposes of investigation of cases. Bakit po kami nakakatipid? Noong araw po, kuminsan lumalakad po na investigador 5. Yung 5 pong yun, binawasan ko. Kasi ang aking filosofiya, kung kayang gawin ng isang Little Indian, yung gawain ng 10 Little Indian, bakit hindi ba nga ba gawin ng isang Little Indian? So just like when I was investigating the case of the onions, yung mga sibuyas, may mga isang tao kung pinalalakad o 2. Kung medyo delikado yung lugar na pupuntahan, 3 sila akong pinapupunta. Yun po ang, pero hindi ko sinasabi sa kanila, bigyan niyo ako ng resibo. Kasi pag sila'y pupunta rin doon, mayroon mga binabayaran din sila mga tao na sinusuyo yung tao na to gather more evidence for us. Marami pong salamat.
Yes, thank you very much po doon sa explanation. Siguro with due respect to our ombudsman, hindi po ito nakakatawa, no? At hindi ito pwedeng sabihin na walang resibo dahil taon-taon po nakikita natin, tumataas ang confidential fund. So kung ganyan po yung sinasabi ninyo, so baka ma-encourage ang mga lahat ng government offices na gumamit na lang ng confidential fund kung wala naman itong resibo. Kaya nga po meron tayong circular na dapat pong sundan ng ating lahat ng mga agencies. And ako personally, kung talagang mga investigation, yung ombudsman, pwede rin tayo dapat na mag-ano ng confidential, pero dapat with the proper liquidation ng mga ganito. Kasi kung sasabihin niyo na kahit wala na kaming confidential fund, so it's all right, mailagay yan doon sa dapat na paglagyan, katulad ng sinasabi niyo kanina, and other services. But to remind the ombudsman, dapat po maging observe natin yung due diligence at saka dun sa paggamit nitong confidential fund. So yun lang po. At saka yung savings, pag sinasabi po natin na savings, yun nga po yung ginagawa, minsan nagdududa kami, maraming mga PS na hindi naman nagagamit, nagsisave sila, and so on. Kaya dapat magamit po ito. So, yung next po ay tungkol doon sa Memorandum Circular number 1 as regards to the submission ng mga SALN. So, nagsasubmit po ba ng SALN ang Presidente at Vice President?
Yes,
lately?
Your Honor.
Okay, thank you po.
Yes, Your Honor. The President, I think, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Vice President Sara Duterte has submitted their
Okay,
SALN.
thank you for the information. Doon po sa Memorandum Circular number 1, Section 6, Lifestyle Check, even without SALN. So, how often po nagko-conduct ang ombudsman ng mga lifestyle check po? So, have you conducted lately ng mga lifestyle check po sa ating mga official and government employees po?
With all due respect, Your Honor, mayroon lang po sana akong gustong itanong eh. Mayroon po bang batas na nag-require na mag-conduct ng lifestyle check? Nagkakandak po kami ng lifestyle check in connection with cases that we're investigating. Nagkakandak po kami ng lifestyle check pag nag-file ng kaso for unexplained wealth. Nagkakandak po kami ng lifestyle check nang hindi na namin kailangan i-publicize pa that we're conducting a lifestyle check on this particular government official or employee. But the only question is, what law has been violated? The law on lifestyle check, where there is none? Or shall we proceed to forfeiture when we find that the properties of this particular government official or employee is not commensurate to his salary? Which again is debatable. Marami po sa ating maraming pera o maraming ari-arian na maring not commensurate sa kanyang income. Pero lingid sa ating kaalaman, yung asawa ay nagdinegosyo. Lingid sa ating kaalaman ay nagbabayad naman pala ng tamang buwis. But para sabihin na nagla-lifestyle check kami at ito ay ipangalandakan namin sa publiko, hindi po namin gagawin yon. We will conduct our investigation discreetly. I must admit we are now conducting some lifestyle check on some government officials, but I cannot say sino po sa kanila.
Yes, thank you po. Hindi ko naman po sinasabi na sasabihin niyo. Tinatanong ko lang po kung nagaganap
I'd like to
yung...
remind
Yes, thank you,
Congresswoman
Mr.
Franz,
Chair. Last na po ito.
Okay.
So, hindi ko naman po sinasabi na sabihin niyo kung sino po yung nila lifestyle check niyo po. Kasi it is in your memorandum po na on Memorandum Circular number 1, Section 6. So, yun lang po, Mr. Chair, at maraming salamat po sa ating ombudsman.
Your Honor, yung mga unfilled positions mula na since I assumed office ay talagang sinasadyang hindi namin mafilapan dahil pinag-aralan ko pa mula noon ano yung naging cause ng inordinate delay. Which is a problem, a recurring problem. So bago ako mag-hire ng additional lawyers, pinag-aralan ko muna saan ang problema. So this year, I have decided to merge two important groups, the fact-finding investigation group and the preliminary investigation group. We will be hiring additional lawyers. We will be creating satellite offices in each of the provinces throughout the Philippines. We will be hiring additional lawyers for each of the sectoral offices para po ang magre-represent sa ombudsman sa mga cases before the regional trial courts or the municipal trial courts will no longer be the Department of Justice but the lawyers of the Office of the Ombudsman. So this year, I promise you na once naayos ko yung plantilla namin, which is already in the making and before the end of the year, matatapos na, sisiguruhin ko po sa inyo na there will be additional lawyers in the Office of the Ombudsman. Investigation of cases will be speed up. Pabilisan po namin investigasyon ng mga kaso. And I have proven that na madali lang naman pala. Pwede pala kami mag-imbestiga ng cases nang walang isang taon tapos kami sa investigasyon. So with this, pagpasensyahan lang po ninyo. Yung mga unfilled positions ay sinisiguro ko po sa inyo mafe-fill up na po yan. But if there are unfilled positions tungkol sa mga administrative personnel, maaaring alisin ko na po yon. Kasi hindi po kailangan ng ombudsman yung mga non-lawyers. Mas kailangan po ng Office of the Ombudsman mga abogado. At mas kailangan po ng Office of the Ombudsman yung IT. Problema po namin sa Office of the Ombudsman ay yung aming IT. Itong taon po nito, na-discover namin na na-hack yung aming system. Yung mga may kaso pala sa amin, kaya pala alam nila kung nasaan ang kanilang mga kaso, kasi 3 tao pala ang nakatingin sa aming firewall. So, because of that, 2 of our personnel from the Management Information System are on preventive suspension because of this. Hindi ho biro na alam po ng respondent na ginagawa pa lang yung desisyon ay may nakakakita na. So there was a time when I advised the lawyers not to use the internet of the Office of the Ombudsman. Marami po kayong problema, but doon sa unfilled position, sinisiguro ko po sa inyo, Your Honor, na within the year, we will be hiring additional lawyers for the Office of the Ombudsman. Marami pong salamat.
Justice, ilan po ngayon ang abogado ng Ombudsman?
Hindi ko po masyadong maano ang bilang, but nung araw po kasi may mga bureaus na kukunti po ang abogado, ayaw ng director mag-hire. But right now, according to this data given to me, there are about a total of 353 lawyers, all in all, from the central office to the sectoral offices. So, dadagdagan po namin ito ng another about 400 to 500 lawyers.
Ngayong taon pong ito.
Ngayong taon pong ito. And we're now starting to hire additional lawyers for the sectoral offices. Kasi, hindi ko alam kung dapat kong sabihin ito, iba-iba pa po sa yung numero ng abogado ng bawat sektor. I mean, the Ombudsman for the Visayas has a different number of personnel sa Ombudsman ng Mindanao, sa Ombudsman ng Luzon, o sa Ombudsman ng Muleo. Ang nangyari po noon ay nagpalakasan sa Ombudsman. Pag malakas ka sa Ombudsman at sinabi mo, ma'am, mag-hire ako ng additional lawyer, at sinabing okay, mag-hire ka ng additional lawyer. Isa pang problema sa Office of the Ombudsman ay yung wala namang term yung opisyal, pero mayroon siyang coterminous na item. Dapat ang mayroon ng coterminous employee ay yung may mga term. The Ombudsman, the Overall Deputy Ombudsman, and the Deputy Ombudsman. Dito po, pati Director, mayroong coterminous employee. Kasi nung nakaraan po, palakasan nga. Isa ngayon, nagmukhang kontrabida ako sa Ombudsman, especially with the merger of two offices. Na ang sabi ko sa kanila, jokingly, whether you like it or don't, tutuloy ko yung merger. But I am serious. Those who will not abide by this, kung ayaw ninyo magtrabaho sa Office of the Ombudsman, they can all tender the resignations and transfer to other offices. I mean it because lagi kaming pinupuna, hindi lamang ng judiciary, but by the public, na ang bagal daw ng investigasyon ng kaso. So ngayon, bibilisan namin ang investigasyon ng kaso, pipilitin namin na ang kaso ay matapos ang investigasyon within a period of at least 2 years in accordance with the decision of the Supreme Court in one case. And incidentally, Your Honor, before I go further, yung pong kaso ni Parladi that was filed in 2022, which is 006, ay na-dismiss na po. Another case against Badoy, which was filed also in 2022, which is 008, is still ongoing investigation. The other cases pending against Parlade and other employees ng PCO ay na-file po ito noong pang 2005. I will check on this and there's still ongoing investigation. That's why I'd like Your Honor to request the Honorable Congressman Manuel to give us a copy, a list of this. And before the end of the day, I will give you the status of these cases. Marami pong salamat.
Mr. Chair, let me just express my appreciation to all the pronouncements of our Honorable Ombudsman, most especially the combination of the fact-finding and the preliminary investigation into one office. Let me express also the appreciation of this representation to the attention he has accorded to the integrity of decisions and resolutions before they are released by the Office of the Ombudsman. Moving forward, Mr. Chair, it appears from the report that there are unused appropriations for 2020 it's 615.1 million. For 2021, it's 518.3 million. And for 2022, it's 526.7 million. May we ask, what seemed to be the challenge of the Ombudsman on these unutilized amounts, which could have been utilized in the other needs and concerns of our country? Mr. Chair.
Before the Ombudsman answers this, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize our Senior Deputy Speaker, Don Gonzales.
Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I understand that 2020 to 2022 pertains to the period of time where Ombudsman Martires is not yet in office. So may I just ask about the fiscal year 2023, whether the Ombudsman is on track in terms of utilization? Mr. Chair.
The Office of the Ombudsman on the unused appropriations, these are actually, they remain valid obligations until fully spent. The previous year's appropriations taken up as continuing appropriations are earmarked for other expenses, like prior year's obligation of wages increase for security and janitorial services. Aaminin ko po sa inyo nang tawag po sa akin ng COA, ako po ay isang waray-waray ng ugali Ilocano. So if you have noticed that two of our Deputy Ombudsman, one from the Visayas and one in Mindanao, are absent, because I told them, wag na silang pumunta, sayang yung pamasahe. Pambigay na nito ng bonus sa Pasko sa mga empleyado, pandagdag bonus. So, kung hindi po kami magtitipid, hindi po kami magkakaroon ng savings. And right now, I am trying to save more because of our plan to buy more hardware para sa aming IT, and which the software will be provided by a foreign country. Pero siyempre, yung hardware at saka pamasahin ng mga pupunta sa Pilipinas, sasagutin ng Office of the Ombudsman. Marami pong salamat.
That is well understood, Mr. Chair. But perhaps we can include in the 2024 budget of Ombudsman the needs of the office, as Ombudsman Martires already manifested before us. For the conviction rate, Mr. Chair, 2020, it is 61.2%. 2021, it is 42.7%. And 2022, it is 26.5%. With all due respect to our dear Ombudsman, although this represents the period where he is not yet appointed as such, can we explain that this decreasing rate of conviction of the Office of the Ombudsman?
Right now, Your Honors, mayroon kaming problema that Congress itself created for us. And this is the amended jurisdiction of the Sandigan Bayan. Doon po sa batas na yon, sa bagong jurisdiction ng Sandigan Bayan, there are cases na hindi na ipa-file sa Sandigan Bayan but will be filed with the lower courts. Ang nakasama pa roon sa batas na yon, sinasabi it should be filed in the adjacent judicial region where the accused, where the public officer is a resident. So if you are a resident of Naga City, that is Region 5, the case must either be filed before Region 4 or before Region 8. These are the adjacent regions to Region 5. Ang problema namin ngayon, pag final mo yung kaso sa executive judge ng Region 8, i-dismiss ng executive judge because there are no guidelines issued by the Supreme Court. Wala hong guidelines. So sa ngayon po, marami pong nakabinbin sa aming mga kaso, hindi namin alam saan ipa-file. kami po ay at the loss. And that is why one of these days we will be recommending to Congress to amend this law. Ibalik na lang natin sa dating jurisdiction ng Sandigan Bayan ng filing ng cases. Instead of pretending to say that if the public officer is from Region 5, let the case be filed in the adjacent region. Pareho din naman ho ang resulta noon na i-file mo sa Region 5. Number 2, on the rate of conviction, this is one aspect of our work where we are rated. Our performance is rated also by the international community, and which is unfair to us, na ang aming performance is based on the conviction rate. Hindi po kami ang husgado. Iba po ang pananaw namin insofar as we're concerned, there is probable cause for the filing of the information. Pero ang husgado po ibang pananaw. Remember that no two, just as no two individuals are the same, even twins, wala hong abogado na pare-pareho ang pag-iisip. May mga abogado na taliwas ang pag-iisip sa katotohanan, may mga abogado na tamang pag-iisip. So kung nagkataon na yung huwes o tatlong justices ng Sandigan Bayan, ang isa ay taliwas ang pag-iisip at sinasabing acquittal, abay, ma-acquit nga. So, our performance should not be based really on the conviction rate. That is unfair to the Office of the Ombudsman. It's just like also rating the Department of Justice on the number of cases where they secure conviction. Because after the Sandigan Bayan, after the regional trial courts, the accused has the right to appeal to the Court of Appeals and to the Supreme Court. E paano pagdating din ng Supreme Court na acquit yung akusado? This is our problem actually. In the Transparency International, I confronted them about this also for rating us on the basis of conviction. Marami pong salamat, Your Honor.